Hey, what's up you guys? This is Rob from The Gay Guy Plays, and today on The Quick Draw, we're toying around with an old friend when we take a look at the Prisma Skana. Now honestly, it has been a long time since I even looked at the Skana. Even with new Loka's Bright Purity mod, it was definitely a bit of a pain to use. Its low base damage, slower than average attack speed, and lack of supplemental stats definitely kept it on the lower end of the effectiveness spectrum. So the question here is, does the Prisma version's upgrades give it enough kick to pull it out of starter weapon status? Now you can pick up the Prisma Skana exclusively from Baro for 510 ducats and 175,000 credits. And just for those of you who aren't aware, Barokatir's stock rotates every 2 weeks, so if you miss it, you might have to wait for a while before he brings it back around. Now the Prisma Skana's primary damage type is slashing, which is great against fleshy targets, however it does suffer resistances to armored and robotic enemies. So be sure you're equipping the appropriate elemental combo in order to deal the optimal amount of damage. So while the Prisma version doesn't give a direct upgrade to its base damage, it does feature an increased attack speed and increased critical stats, which can actually lead to a drastic spike in damage output. As we know, with melee weapons, critical stats and attack speed almost go hand in hand due to the Berserker mod. The more crit, the faster you strike. The faster you strike, the more crits you rack up, turning you into a literal walking blender. Now, as you all know, I'm a big fan of Iron Phoenix, and will take it any day over Crimson Dervish. However, with max stacks of Berserker on the Prisma Skana, as well as that increase in base speed, it almost becomes unwieldy. Now, in addition, there is something that we cannot ignore. The Prisma Skana can equip the Bright Purity mod from new Loka, which increases the base damage of all one-handed Skana by 100% at max rank. In addition, it deals 1000 points of corrosive damage in a 25-meter area of effect, restores 25% of your health, and grants you a 25% HP buff based off of your Warframe's base health once you've filled up the gauge with enough affinity. Now, with special effects aside, this is definitely an awesome mod, as this affects base damage, which, as we know, boosts all elemental and physical damage mods. This can easily take the place of Spoiled Strike, or if your mod setup has the space, can work in conjunction with it. Now, I think the biggest question here is, how does this fare against the Dakra Prime? With Berserker builds that work towards each of their individual strengths, the Dakra Prime still pulls ahead by approximately 50 to 150 points of damage per second, depending on the rest of your build, which honestly isn't that much when considering that this is based off of both weapons being fully modded, and is completely excluding all of the Bright Purity effects. The one thing to note is that while both builds are using Berserker, due to the Prisma Skana's higher critical chance, it will most likely hold on to Berserker stats better than the Dakra Prime will, and most likely be able to close the DPS gap between the two. Now, the same can be said with the Dakra Prime running a full elemental sweep without using Berserker, as while this build pulls ahead by almost 400 points of damage per second on paper, with max Berserker stats, the Prisma Skana easily closes that gap and surpasses it by almost 500 points of damage per second. Now, speaking of filling up gaps, can we talk? Okay, so one of the great things about the Prisma Skana is it brings you back to your roots, but kind of improves upon it. It's still the same as it always was, but now it's a little faster and a little bit better at hitting sweet spots. This got me to thinking. Exactly what is wrong with missionary position? Everybody wants to talk about how they turned sex into Cirque du Soleil doing fucking flips and acrobatic penetration and shit. Like, that's necessarily a good thing. Don't get me wrong, every now and then it's nice to be pinned up against the wall or thrown over some furniture to get some really nice angles of entry. However, sometimes that shit is uncomfortable as fuck. Either you're in some awkward position just trying to get it in, or even trying to physically hold up whoever you're trying to fuck, or you're getting crammed into some weird spot while you're getting rammed. Seriously, that's how you get fucking concussions. You know how not to get concussions? Missionary position. You get body contact, lots of kissing, and most importantly, your shit ain't getting broke. So instead of giving up on a classic, you should just improve upon it. Just Prisma up that dick and you'll be just fine. Now, moving on, let's get back to the quick draw. So all in all, I think that the Prisma Skana is quite a nice addition when it comes to the single sword category, as it's currently the only true crit-based sword of the bunch, and is the only one who can keep pace with the Dakra Prime, even potentially outpacing it with help of Bright Purity. Now, this one is going to be one of those that takes just a little work to build up, as it doesn't come with any innate polarities, so to get the most out of it, you may have to burn a forma or two. However, the Prisma Skana is blatantly a grower and not a shower. While it doesn't appear to be much at first, when at full mast, it performs like an absolute beast. So thank you all for watching another episode of The Quick Draw. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my ancient video on the Dakra Prime, as well as Saren's sexy outfit in the Tenno palette. Now, don't forget to do all the things that I ask you to do at the end of every one of these, and as always, stay tuned for more sex, swords, and Cirque du Soleil, here at A Gay Guy Plays. That was almost as satisfying as a dick shot.